Made it, right. So, do you ever find that you have a t-shirt and it just doesn't fit? You don't fit into the SLM nonsense. Well, enter Citizen Wolf. Tailor-made tees for those who know what they want but don't want to waste any time.
Welcome to Citizen Wolf. I'm Eric, one of the co-founders.
And I'm Zoltan, the other co-founder.
So tell us a little bit about Citizen Wolf and what it is that you do.
What we do is make tailored clothing. Our belief is that it shouldn't just be restricted to the top 1% of the market, and that everyone should have the benefits of tailoring, and we're doing that starting with t-shirts.
Why did you get started down this path? So what kind of triggered this journey for you? What was your biggest aha moment?
I met Zoltan in advertising for about 12, 13 years ago. About a couple of years ago we met back in Sydney, and Zoltan was running another fashion company called The Affair. And we were just having some discussions around why is it so hard to get good fit. What we eventually realised is that if I want to get a business suit, it's easy enough for me to get a tailor. But when it comes to casual clothing, there is nothing on the market. And so we thought, well, why can't we do this? Why isn't there a solution? And maybe we should be the ones to try and do it.
Turns out that it's actually not that easy. The problem we faced when we started is that so many of the people in the fashion industry, the makers, didn't want to work with us. But when we were asking them to make things one at a time, they were like, no thanks. You guys are crazy, you know? It can't be done.
I like on your website how you say to make things simple, we do things the hard way. I thought that was fantastic. So maybe you can walk us through a little bit about what that means and how you guys do things differently, as you said, from the standard fashion industry, the people that were telling you that you guys were crazy.
So we have a big belief in buying better by buying less. And so that's kind of in the same vein as you were talking, you know, doing things the hard way.
Anyone who starts a fashion brand, there's always a temptation to do things the quick and easy way, which is, let's just use established processes and systems and suppliers and do things the way that they're used to doing it. But we felt that by doing that, we're not actually changing anything. You still end up in a situation where clothing is mass-produced, which is not perfectly fitted for customers at the end of the process, where people buy things which end up being worn once or twice because once they wash it, it's the wrong size, they can't do anything with it, and it goes into a landfill. We don't feel that we're actually changing anything if we just be part of that system. So we had to re-engineer everything from the ground up.
It sounds like you guys have definitely battled against the norm and re-engineered the whole process, which is incredible. So why, aside from, you know, the obvious like cost and that kind of thing, what is it, do you think, about the fashion industry that makes them so averse to this change?
It's quick and cheap to do things when everything is just 6 sizes. You can offshore that to some sweat house in some third world country, get the price down, and basically create this whole industry around disposable fashion where you buy gum that's so cheap that it doesn't matter, right, if it doesn't quite fit right.
As the industry exists as it does because people A, are blind to change, and B, they already make a lot of money, right? There's a lot of people making a lot of money in fashion, so why rock the boat?
And so how are you finding the response from the customers now?
Initially there's a bit of resistance because people think it's just a t-shirt, right? How hard can it possibly be? Why do we need to change everything just to make a t-shirt? But once they actually put on the t-shirt and go through the process of getting it configured and creating a perfect one, they end up buying 10 more. Because people fundamentally don't want to be going through this process of constantly finding something that should be so simple. Our challenge is how to get more people to be aware that there are options that exist beyond just going to a high street store and buying 6 t-shirts that are pretty terrible and will break apart after a month.
In a general sense, you know, with the fashion industry, what do you think the biggest obstacle we have to overcome with making people understand these changes?
You know, we're in this David and Goliath battle, in a way, against fast fashion. And right now, it's kind of tough. But I think we are also at the forefront of a coming change. There's a naivety of fast fashion, which is, oh my God, I can get anything I want super cheap and I don't give a shit if it doesn't last. I think that's a phase that people are going to get through. And they're going to get to the other side and they're going to go, hang on. You know, we live on a planet of finite resources. We can't continue like this.
There are going to be people out there who will never convince that they need to buy ethical and local and so forth. And that's fine for now. But there are plenty of people still who do care about these things, and we need to give reasons for them to buy into the way we think it should work. Just because something's eco and ethical doesn't mean that you have to look like you're wearing a potato sack. That it doesn't need to be. It can actually be exactly the same fashion that you used to, but better.
Are there any stats that you kind of promote, or that you sort of triggered stuff for you when you guys read, like in the fashion industry or in Sydney, or anything, you know, that kind of come to mind?
One of the most shocking stats that we saw recently is that 1/3 of people buy clothing and wear it once and then throw it out. Well, that's simply because it's cheap. Right? If I buy it, I don't end up liking it, it doesn't matter. Or I bought it, it shrank, it's so cheap it's not even worth returning back to the store. And that's horrendous, because not only is that environmentally damaging, but it meant that there was some sweatshop worker, right, who was chained to a sewing machine to put that together, right, for 20 cents, whose efforts have gone to waste. Not to mention then all the supply chain issues of how that fabric was created and how it gets disposed. The other side of it is that a lot of people think that it's fine, I'm not going to dump it in the trash, I'm going to give it to a charity and they'll reuse it. But the reality there is that 90% of what gets donated to a charity ends up going to landfill anyway, because they can't sell it and they can't give it away either.
One of the questions we're asking everyone we're interviewing around the world is, what would Mother Nature say right now if she could speak?
Hush.
Yeah. Be gentle.
Yeah.
What is your very best conscious tip?
Buy better by buying less.
What he said.
It's our mantra, so.
What is your favorite wedge of wisdom? That's kind of what we call it, or like life mantra on a more personal level.
I have a favorite quote, which is, the cure for boredom is curiosity. There is no cure for curiosity. And I think that's just a nice way to approach life. If you're interested in what's going on and you have your eyes open, then yeah, the world's pretty amazing.
One quote that always sticks out is what everyone says. Well, if you ever ask anyone who's on their deathbed what they say, what their one piece of advice is, and consistently it's always the same thing. And that is, the things in life that you will regret are the things you've done, the things that you didn't do. That's all the more reason that we're taking a shot at trying to change things, because I think if we didn't, we would probably regret it for the rest of our lives.
Yay, beautiful.